Where were we? AI. Welcome, everybody, to this week's focus group where we are going to talk about some geeky stuff as usual. Today, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. We have a lot of the usual misfits and bandits here, but we also have a special guest, Mackenzie Bowes, the creator of. Oh, Ken's back. What happened? We lost Ken. There he is. Okay. He's the creator of GPT-Boss, which is super cool. Vicky introduced us to this last week. She mentioned it, and boom, look, we got the creator right here. So, Mac, tell us a little bit about GPT Boss and how, like, just give us a quick little overview of what the app does.
The soundbite that I perfected on TikTok is GPTBoss
Yes.
is an app that gives you access to a suite of AI employees and generators that automate small business tasks so you can run a company by yourself.
Okay. So that really means nothing to anybody though when you rattle it off like that. So let's do a can you do a screen share and show us? Because the cool thing is that I mean there's so many AI tools out there right now, right?
Mhm.
And that things that can help you run your business. So what Mac has done is he's built it's maybe the reason I like it so much is because it reminds me a little bit of Focus WP. So basically he's giving you your whole team right there, except for each different team member is its own little AI persona and character that has presumably been trained or, led to a certain style type of knowledge, whatever. I'm talking like an idiot right now because I just learned about this a week ago. I haven't even had time to like fully try it out. So is that accurate? Is
Should I
that,
share my screen?
yeah, please do.
All right. How are we looking?
Coming up. There we go.
Okay. So yeah, this is like the main dashboard. This is what it looks like after your account. There's hello? Are we still on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just got a pop-up that said Zoom crashed. Here it is again. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, so if you could also
Man, we
see,
should have done this on Discord, you guys.
It's probably the AI messing with you.
yeah, okay, don't send.
Uh-oh. Guys, this doesn't bode well.
Just
We lost him.
It did
Just
actually.
hit
Crash.
don't
I did.
send.
Right, now he's back.
Okay,
Try
let's try
it
again.
There you
Yeah,
go.
So basically things are going really well tonight.
yeah.
Well, the
Maybe
stars are aligned this week, so we'll see.
maybe I was making like an infinite zoom here. So okay, wish me luck. Anyways, so this is the employee. Recently changed this. The idea was that this would just be a list of like every employee. I do have to do work on like filtering the content, but when you log in, like this is all empty, this is all empty. And then you have Luke Fraser as your kind of default chatter. And I need like a UX audit horribly badly on it, but like this is kind of the main feature of it, right?
Yeah.
So when you log in, the idea is that this is like your first time in business. You're like, okay, I am going to foray into something that I haven't done before. And that is like entrepreneurship. Like where do I even start with this? And the reason for that is because I think a lot of people are going to get laid off this year. Like we've already seen 200,000 engineers get laid off from FANG, and everyone was like, oh yeah, engineers are recession proof. Like nobody would ever fire a software developer. 200,000 in 2 months laid off. And if you think like the most like canonically recession-proof job is going to be like the one that's not safe and everything else is safe, that's like probably not true either. So there's going to be a lot of people that get laid off and they're like, well, what do I do now, right? And maybe I'll try being an entrepreneur. So this is to like help them, right? It's to like move through all of the like grit that we all had to go through, like figuring this out and failing and falling on our face. The idea is that it's supposed to just help you get it done. So you talk to Luke. Hey Luke, I'm thinking about starting a business selling crocheted sweaters.
Picked a hard
Ideas.
word.
Yeah. And I'm working on getting this streaming. So it will stream back like ChatGPT soon, but it's just like processing this idea, generating the whole thing, and then it's going to pop back in the chat. It's a lot more impressive on TikTok where I have like editing tools to control the flow of time. But
No, that's okay.
so he is here to help you. Like, you have an idea, like you've seen like something on TV, or there's something that you could do, and Luke is like to bring it to reality, right? Like, where do you get started? Well, crocheted sweaters, does anyone even want to buy that, right? So he lets you know you got to research your customer demand. How much are you going to sell it for? Like, is the market able to take the price that you need for your crocheted sweaters? Here's how you plan for growth. Here's how you focus on marketing. And the idea is that the chat like goes back and forth, right? So, well, how do I actually do customer research customer demand? And then you kind of go back and forth with him on this chat, where like you're asking questions, he's providing answers, and then you kind of learn entrepreneurship. And so Luke is the one that's there by default. Let's see what he says back before moving back to the employees. I could say that a common problem, a lot of people when they get started with this, they get themselves into a situation where the worker is saying like, I'll send you an email about that. Like Luke would say, let's book a Zoom call to talk about this. Luke can't do a Zoom call. He's
Right.
like an AI. But yeah, but there's like the picture here, and there's like this description, and they're like, is this like a real person? Like, can he do a Zoom call? And so they email me, they're like, he's not getting on the Zoom call. I've been waiting for 20 minutes. What's wrong with your app? And
oh my gosh.
yeah, so I included these kind of responses to say like, okay, like they're definitely not real. They will never email you. They talk about emailing you, not all the time, but like often enough. I hear about it like once a day at least. Anyways,
It's
so
kind of fascinating that people, I
Yeah.
mean, like that's kind of cool that people are actually like,
yeah,
like it's a sort of a two-edged thing, right? Because you're
Mhm.
working well enough that people are thinking they're actually talking to a human being. So that's kind of cool.
yeah. And the advice, some criticism that I get on this is that it's basic, but the person who's saying this is basic has already been through the ringer, right?
Mm.
Right.
Like, how do you know that it's basic? Because it's true, right? Like, you've done it, and this is where you start. So if you, like, there's nothing wrong with it being basic, especially because it's for like a first-time person. Where
I thought
if
you meant
you're,
it was basic, like wearing UGG boots and having Starbucks.
yeah,
What's
like the
there?
business advice, like, well, I think some people really like
Thank you,
magic
Jason.
bullets for business, like researching customer demand. Like, oh, there's a website that you buy a report from, and it'll tell you how to make $1 million. A lot of people feel this way, that there's like some magic bullet that they have to find. And in reality, like when they buy the course, what they find out is like, oh yeah, you got to do the work. You got to like do cold calls. And here's how you do cold calls. Here's how you feel less bad doing cold calls, because it's horrible to get rejected all the time. But the reality is you just got to like do the cold calls. And so I think part of that like comment of like, this is basic info, is somebody saying like, well, it's not giving me magic bullets, right?
Right. Okay, so then you can add on to your team.
Yeah, so we'll go back to the team. So I've added a few in here. Whoops. So the way that this works is you start with just Luke, and then there's 9 slots. And
Nice.
in the future, like, so if you fill it up, that'll just add kind of more slots so you could edit these. But in the future, I'm going to limit it to like 10. And then if you need an 11th guy, whatever, $5. You can just kind of throw them in for right now. And so the way that this works is that you just have like easy access to them, right? Like, it's free. It's like during beta, we're still really early, so it's free. Any of these employees you could just take and fire at your will. And this is kind of the gamut of jobs. There's an accountant, legal advisor, SEO guy, a React developer, because I'm like snooty about development. I might put a WordPress guy in, and he might be better than the React developer because there's a lot more WordPress content that I just haven't done yet. Marketing manager, the business coach we saw, the copywriter, and then some of them, like I have to duplicate all of them. There has to be like a guy and a girl kind of for each role, so that you can build your own team. A big complaint that I had for a long time was like, why is all the employees men? Like,
yeah, can we say
where's-
this was full of testosterone when Mackenzie first started?
yeah,
Why are there no redheads in this?
yeah. That's kind of like what I was thinking. Is like if you want to ask weird questions about like, why isn't it women, then I don't know, like, it's an AI. They're not real people. So it's not.
I think it's brilliant, because you really, like, my biggest issue is it's it made it so user friendly, and maybe like you were saying, maybe too user friendly for some people if they actually believe that they're real people. Quick question is, I know you're using the GPT API, but do you have to like use funnels or filters with each one of these employees that will get different responses, or why are there so many different employees when basically it's pooling out of the same place? I'm just curious.
So prompt engineering,
Okay.
like that's another part of the user interface that I wanted to do, because you could theoretically go to the GPT-3 playground and like engineer your prompts and do these generations and save all of your prompts into like a text file on your PC, and then like load in your prompts that work really well and play with them. But that's like such a CF, like who's doing that? So the idea is that these employees are like tested prompts that I've engineered that I've had really good results with for these employees that you just get to like start talking to, right? You don't have to do any of that like testing or kind of like OpenAI calls them identities. You don't have to do identity management for your prompts.
So Mackenzie, I have a question about that. So I know like you're doing the prompt engineering, but with the number of people that are using GPTBoss, are they also learning from the people that are using the tool?
I don't have any pipelines for that set up yet, but it's something that I can do. So we'll talk about the terms, right? Because if you're putting your business idea in here, like what does that mean for your copyright?
You're right.
Right? What does that mean for your intellectual property? What if you're like an author, right? What if you're using the copywriter or well, we haven't even gotten to the generators yet, but there's a lot of like prompt engineered like text generators that do a lot of different things. Like the content writer, I think, is the most powerful one. There's a 3rd grade and 5th grade content spinner, so you could like simplify your words so you're not like getting like zozzled by, you know, fancy $5 words. And this is the content spinner is really good for websites too.
Speaking of fancy words, zozzled.
Zozzled, yeah, you know what I mean by that.
And is there a plagiarism at the same time tester?
So there's no plagiarism tester on here, but I've had people use their results. Like people are using the content writer to write blogs, and they're putting it into the available like AI detectors, and they're passing at like 94% human.
Okay.
Is because of the prompts that I'm using. So ChatGPT is I think what most people are using, and these generators are a lot like the prompts. So the ChatGPT prompt is act as an AI assistant. Like that exact string goes with every message that you send to ChatGPT. So it kind of acts a little bit differently, but these generators and the employees act as like people, right? Or the generators are like, so for the content writer, the prompt is act as an AI content writer, but it still passes with like 94% human because the perplexity of the output is different than what ChatGPT does.
So could you dive into like a content writer prompt?
I would like to actually pause for 1 second, Michael. I want to make sure that we haven't lost anybody here. If raise your hand, ask a question in the chat, speak up if you need more clarification on how these terms are being used. Do you need to understand more what he's talking about? Prompts, prompt generation,
well, have him
engineering.
go ahead and explain prompts.
Okay. Could you then explain that, Max, so in sort of semi-layman's terms? I mean, we're all geeks here, but this is new tech.
Sure. So the best place to do it is actually not on my website, but it's on openai.com/playground. No?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What's wrong?
Oh, just so many buttons I have to click to get to this thing.
I mean, I feel your pain.
Oh my God. Are we stuck here? Okay, great. So, finally.
And anybody can go to this playground.
Yeah, anybody can go to this playground. So the idea, like basically like the way that my app works is that there's like the preamble and then the user entered input on the other side. So for the content writer, the preamble is act as an AI content writer. Respond to any requests for content and return at least 500 words in markdown format. Something along these lines. And that's like on my end. And then somebody writes into the chat box and they're like, please write an article about AI prompt engineering. So these go to OpenAI together.
And I love that you say please, because I always say please too, and thank you.
Me too.
Yeah. So in this case, these are other parts of the prompts on the sidebar here. So this ended early because it had a maximum length of 60. It goes to 4,000. So let's keep it going. I'm adding this feature soon, like this like streaming kind of one token at a time. So GPTBoss would look like that. But there's differences in this. So that is like one prompt. That's like the content writer prompt. And then another generator that I have is the 5th grade content spinner. So rewrite this content to be appropriate for a 5th grade reading level.
Right.
And then I like to pass quotes around like the thing that I want rewritten.
So if you want to adjust your prompts as far as the variability of them, can you do that?
Not right now in the app. So like
Okay.
in my app, there's no, I'm thinking about putting in a toolbar like this, but I have like 1,000 other things to do first, like fix this email issue.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the reason
sorry.
I asked that is, for an example, if you want the response and content writing to be first, second, or third person, for example.
So you could do that, right?
Okay.
In the content writer.
So you can add a variable on top.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
All right. As well as maybe female or male voice, for
Yeah.
example. Yeah. Okay.
No. My site just crashed. Okay, we'll try it in here. So like, because it's pretty much the same thing.
Like it's the day for it.
Yeah, AI content writer. So like imagine that this is like my prompt, and then your prompt could be, please write a 500-word article explaining why Harvard is a great school in the first person.
Okay.
Use a female voice.
Excellent. Okay.
Right? So you can kind of do this on your own. But the idea with GPTBoss is that you shouldn't have to know that you have to do this, right? Like you should just be able to say like 500-word article Harvard, and that does it for you.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something about your token. What do you get for a token?
So tokens are parts of words. The AI doesn't consider like a word to be a word or a letter to be a letter. It doesn't think like that. We get really like not good results when we force the AI to count things in this way. So we use something called a semantic token, which is a small part of a word. It's about 0.7 words, right? So some examples of like what a token is the number here, like 150 might be a token by itself. Space, capital NOB, might be a token by itself. The whole word Nobel might be a token. Very small chunks. So on GPTBoss.com, because I'm using OpenAI, I have to pay OpenAI for their tokens. They bill me, right? All of these generations I had to pay for. And so on GPTBoss, you also have these tokens, and it's just like feeds forward on that cost. And that cost is like the only thing that it really pays for is just the electricity of running the AI.
Right. And those, what you just generated that had the green text, that probably cost you a couple cents, right? Like it's not super expensive.
Not at all.
There's small little things like that. But once you start talking about like having multiple clients saying like, write me 1,000-word blog post, and you're going to pick and choose all and rewrite a bunch of stuff, and you've got like hundreds or thousands of people doing, like, that's when you start to at scale get into some dollars. And so that's where you get these apps that are charging money for things, but also there's added value because of like you're not just going to the playground or to ChatGPT or whatever and training it while you're asking the questions. So apps like Boss or like Bertha, for example, is another one where they've set up a structure for you and like served it up because we have sort of an idea of what you need already. So we can kind of get you in the ballpark and then you just feed in what you need. Did anybody see my Max Headroom joke in the chat? Because that's really what I feel like is happening to David. For anybody old enough to know what Max Headroom was.
Yeah, I saw it.
Gave you a smiley, a laughing emoji.
Because what is happening, David? It's bonkers what your video is doing. I think you need to plug your thing in tighter. That's actually what it looks like to me. Like, does your camera have a loose connection?
No, I have no idea. It was still not earlier on as well. I might have too many things rolling or something.
No, I just suggested you maybe dipped it in Guinness, David.
I think that probably happened. Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple things too. I wanted to pop something up here with Bertha just to show another sort of thing. Hang on one second.
Is
I'm
anyone
gonna share my
currently using AI in their business? I mean, except for one that owns AI or has a business that deals with AI. Vicky, you do, right? In your work?
I use it to find like synonyms for, because I deal with search, so I need to find like as many alternate words for you know, you would know with SEO, for as many alternate words for concepts as I can. So I'm often using it, you know, what are other words I can use for, you know, insurance policy or whatever. Words or phrases. So I use it a lot that way. But I'm very, you know, working for a company like State Farm, they're very wary of things like OpenAI right now. So, you know, making sure that we don't put any State Farm code in there or any, you know, thing like that. So I'm kind of having to use it on the DL, but I do use it.
So this is just a simple example, a more simplified example of what Mac was just showing. So here we've got this like city-based pages. So if this is something that you want to add to your site for the SEO value and whatever, or if you've got somebody that one of your clients is doing local, so you can come in here and you can put their company name or yours. You could put what city it is, and then a description of service, what's the call to action, the keyword. And so it's basically giving you like Mad Libs for those things. You could also go into like the chat or the Ask Me Anything or ChatGPT or whatever, you know, like any of these things. You can go in there and say like, create a city page that you know, that does X, Y, and Z for the brand blah 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 in the city with this service description, and make sure you include this call to action and these keywords. Right? You can write all of those things out and give it those instructions and get similar or, you know, results. But this is a prompt that has been created and trained so that it will spit it out in a certain format. We also have one coming, for example, for I don't think it's hit yet, for generating like a description for your course, like a course description, because we're doing a little partnership with Lifter LMS. So it'll ask you like, what's the title of your course? What's the certification? What's this, you know, it asks a couple questions, again, Mad Lib style, and then it will spit out like an introduction, a bulleted list, and a certificate, like whatever the other, you know, like it'll format it in a certain way. So it's basically teaching the AI how to format its answer to you based on the context of where you're inputting these things.
So are those questions like front loading the prompt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are all created with that stuff built in the playground, like Mac was just showing. So we go in there and we come up with something and we structure it in a certain way. So we give instructions, and then we give an answer and we format in a certain way, and then it's just like with a little kid, like when you teach them how to tie their shoes or something like that, you say like, you do this, then this, then this. Okay, no, you do it. And they do it and it's a mess. And you go, okay, not quite. Let's tweak it and let's try this, that, and you just keep doing that until the kid can tie his shoes 10 times correctly on his own. And then he can go to school and he can be okay, or whatever it is. So that's basically what's happening in the background. Now in Bertha, we don't control the tone and we don't control the personality or like the skill set. Basically, that's what Mac is doing. So Mac is telling these people, because you can say like to the AI, you just basically tell it what it is, or say act like, or so you say like act like a developer and answer this question versus act like a designer and answer this question. You guys can see how that's like what's involved in creating a website to a designer is a different question than to a developer. So theoretically, you would get different answers from different people on his team, whereas with ChatGPT, there's no personality or like skill set or job description included in that innately. Again, you can still type all of these things in. So all of these apps and tools are layers, really. They're layers on top of this technology that is building in shortcuts to get you to where you need to go. And so if you are looking for a team like that, like where you can just ask different questions to different people without having to try and break down like all this stuff. So anyway, does that help clarify it to you guys?
This has been really, I understand all this theoretically, and it really is bringing stuff home about what all these apps are doing. Is just really making, like Bertha, simplifying the prompts so we don't have to learn them all and making it easier. When are we going to get a full tour of Bertha? What's going on with all that? Sorry, I'm taking away from Mac. Sorry about that, Mac. But I didn't realize you guys were doing
next
like
week or
pages and doing. It's all very web specific. Obviously, I haven't dug in yet, so we'll talk about that later.
So because Bertha is a WordPress plugin, that's why it's very web specific. Now you
guys are coming up with the Chrome edition, though, right?
We are adding that on too. Yeah. So I didn't really clarify with Mac too much. Like, this isn't really a sales pitch either for GPTBoss or for Bertha or for any tool. What this is to me that I wanted to come together and talk about tonight is like education. Like, let's start demystifying this stuff a bit and helping people to understand it. We are on the cutting edge, you guys. Like, this is a time like this is the pivotal point in technological history. Not to be overdramatic or anything, but it is like, this is like, when the internet was created and how it changed everybody's lives, or when the iPod or iPhone were created and it made such monumental changes to so many people. Like, this is one of those pivotal times in history. And like, we are geeky enough to kind of understand it and ride this wave. Like, that's huge, like that's so cool to me. And so if we can sort of like break through the barrier of like figuring it out, understanding it, because we can much quicker. But let me tell you, it's coming for your mom.
Yep.
That's not like a your mama joke. Like, it's coming mainstream. It will be mainstream. Like, what ChatGPT did more than anything else is like, forget the functionality of what it did. It broke it out. It broke it out and put it viral. It still is inaccessible and mysterious and not really like the use case is not clear to most people.
Right.
A month ago, I put on my Facebook, like, does anybody, like, non-geeks, do you know what ChatGPT is?
Right.
And all you bozos, my whole thing was filled with people explaining to me what it is. Like, I didn't know. I wanted to see like how many people knew about it. The only people who weren't geeks doing that, geek-splaining to me, were people who were like, never heard of it. So it, like, as much as we see it in our feeds and things, like, it really isn't full-blown mainstream. It's like mainstream to geeks, but it hasn't really broken through to like mom and dad yet.
Well,
like
I
your grandma.
asked the mainstream geeks in here who's using it, and it's very low percentage.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
kind
what
of
I mean.
curious,
Parts of it.
what's holding you back? I can't believe how much I am using. I'm using it daily. Research it's great for research.
Like I'm so glad I'm sitting down to hear that Michael Lofton is using artificial
I
intelligence
know.
daily. Like I
Go
had
Michael
just
SEO.
like
Well, I'm always 10
happening.
years ahead of shit. So what can I say?
You're almost crazy not to. You know, I've been playing and tinkering with Jasper for a year, but not until I kicked myself. It's like, why am I spending time writing or doing any of this when? And again, it's not a replacement, but it's an absolute enhancement. And I think we have to embrace it and not be scared of it, because as technical people and creatives, or it can be a great tool. And yeah, you're right. It's coming for your mama. So we better stay ahead of the game.
And I think when 4.0 hits this year, it's going to just jack things way up. What do you think about that, man?
Sam Altman is saying that it's overhyped. He's trying to like manage expectations. He's saying a lot of people are way too too excited about what GPT-4 is. He also, so like there's that. He's like, GPT-4 won't be nearly as good as you think it is. And then at the other time, like the impact of what GPT-3 is has not made it through society yet. So he also says that like as GPT-3 starts getting integrated into more and more businesses, our like social fabric will substantially change.
I remember sitting in a room with some engineers, and he holds up this, and it's 5 years before it came out. So this is stuff that we're aware of right now. Is really it's not so much cutting edge. It's been around a while. It's just that certain people are starting to be introduced to it, and they introduce, the bell curve thing. So it's going to raise up, and everybody's going to catch on sooner or later. But this is, I mean, think about the technology they really know. They're 50 years ahead of us basic human thinkers. But that aside, I'm just really curious why more of us are not utilizing it on a daily basis. From the SEO standpoint, which is kind of where I'm coming from, digital marketing, customer conversions, SEO, I can't use it at a certain level because it doesn't have current event referencing. So it can't tell me when it gives metadata how many people exactly are searching. I can't go deep into keyword research with it, but it can give me some simple feedback as far as meta tags, descriptions, H tags, that sort of thing. But it cannot duplicate what I'm able to do from an SEO standpoint to actually dig deep and to verify that those tags will actually work. It'll give me some examples, but not the deep research, because it didn't give me current event. It can't dig.
Yeah, I think this is something that's worth working on. There's a startup that I found today called Splite, SPLITE, that has a process for embedding local, like your company's like knowledge base. So if you have like certain processes for like sales or customer support, now you have a chat GPT like interface where you could just conversationally ask it questions, and the embeddings include the source. This page in our Notion is where we wrote down that process. This is exactly how you take like customer funds if they live in Saudi Arabia and don't, get charged income tax, right? So that kind of thing, this like embedding, I think that's the startup that I need to be working on really, is this embedding pipeline tool, so that you can like execute a search, store the embedding, and then that's all like an automated pipeline. So the model automatically updates, and then you get this like SEO tool that knows new things. It's not that hard either. I just got to finish up my day job and then like go completely entrepreneur mode.
So simple, you guys. If you're Mac. So there's a couple things about that are fascinating to me, and I'm glad I'm recording this, because I'm going to tell you all something right now. The thing that is going to blow your minds the most, this is the prediction that I'm going to make, and you watch, it's going to happen. Bing is going to overtake Google. I know, David, I know. It's going to happen because Microsoft, like Google's already using AI in tons of things that it does. Tons. Like that's not new. This is not news to Google, but it's going to be a little bit more conservative in how it's doing it. But the CEO of Microsoft is going write it down, Michael, put the date.
What's the date?
January 26th, 2023. because
no,
it
what's
is-
the date that they're going to take over?
oh, I don't know that,
Oh.
but it's gonna happen. Watch it. Like let's put it on the calendar for next year this time, and let's see
Huh.
how we're progressing, because it's gonna start incorporating things like ChatGPT into search, because a lot of people have been saying like first of all, I hate how they just refer to it as ChatGPT only, because it's the underlying AI technology, and it's so unwieldy to say. It's just annoying. It's like is that the best name they could come up with, really? But so anyway, the AI, like so somebody's saying things like ChatGPT is going to replace search. Well, no, it's not, because it's different. It's not going to replace search. It will fill certain voids, and it does work for you, and it can research things sort of. But like if I want to go and like research, so say I want to do like a recipe. If I want a recipe for Tuscan chicken or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to see like, or actually, you know what's a better one is margarita, because I actually just looked this up recently. So I want to go see like a margarita. Well, then I'm going to see like all of the tequila brands have it. So I could go to my favorite tequila brand and see how they recommend, or I could go to somebody else who I already know the reputation of, who I know I trust, like if I've seen other recipes of theirs before. So, I can do something like that, or I can go read 3 or 4 or 5 and say like, okay, I get the gist of this. It's tequila and lime and triple sec, and I'm going to do a splash of OJ because I saw somebody mention that. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of make your own thing. Whereas if you go and say to ChatGPT, give me a margarita recipe, you get one recipe. You don't know what it's like. You don't have anything to compare it to, any reference for it, anything. So when it comes to stuff like that, I think there's just it's apples and oranges.
Of course, you can always prompt GPT to give you more, and it'll give you more.
Sure, but there's no reputation behind it. There's no like comparison. There's no like, really the nitty gritty is there's no citations. And that's another whole big thing with all of this. But that's a pretty deep well. Are you laughing at that, Mac? What?
No, Splite fixes that. Like this just got released like a couple days ago on Product Hunt. Like
Yes.
they've already. So this is the thing that's like so crazy about this, is that the schedule of these tools getting better is like blazingly, mind-blowingly fast. So we had ChatGPT that had this problem that you're talking about on November 30th. That was released yesterday. Splite was released, and it has citations, and it can give you like, you can ingest web pages into something like Splite. And so when you're searching chicken recipes, it'll say like, well, here's one that I found. This is the source. And you could conversationally edit that prompt. So I need a chicken recipe that's under 400 calories a serving. I need a chicken recipe that's under 200 calories a serving. I need a chicken recipe because I'm like very hungry, 1,000 calories, like whatever it is. I need a chicken recipe that uses triple sec. Splite can have like this like progressive ingesting of embedded data can solve those problems. And it's only been 2 months. Like what's going to happen 2 months from now?
So
Was slice spelled like it sounds? SLICE?
I'll type it.
Okay, thank you.
Mark put the definition of it. Extending the legs at right angles to the trunks.
Got it.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good name for it, I guess. So the other thing that's going to happen is sort of, and I don't know, so there's giving the AI certain data search, which is super valuable if you want to go on to your own, like especially if you've got like a big blog or a very robust e-commerce store, or like a lot of content on your site. If you can get an AI, you can feed it your site, basically have it digest it, and then have a chat on the site that could answer questions and talk to people and do things like, that's powerful, like compared to any stupid chatbot that you go to now that is like completely useless. So, you can do things like that where you're injecting stuff, you're giving it the information it needs to teach it. The other thing is like, if you could actually have the AI search, like, and I don't know if that's the right way to say it or not. Like, I don't know if it's going to be continuously consuming, like in real time, just continuously consuming, or if it's going to go like, you know what I mean? Like, it's probably not really search. It's probably just still continuing to consume and then give you multiple answers. Right, Mac? Is that what you would say?
It can. So there was a contest last week for finding inverse scaling problems for large language models, and this was one of them. The larger that a model gets, the less it like asks for new information, because just like us, like when it knows a lot of things, it's like, well, I know everything. I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to check. So that'll be interesting to see too. Like if we set up this embedding pipeline and it knows a lot of things, more likely over time it'll stop asking for new information. So search is unlikely. It's going to be unlikely to ask to search for things.
It's also fascinating. But you watch, guys, because Bing is going to start incorporating this stuff into its. Is somebody leaving?
Yeah, me.
Oh, bye, Suze. Glad you came. Have fun
Get some
skiing.
sleep.
So it's yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Bing though, because I love to rag on Bing about how pointless it is, and now it's going to like. I'm not saying it's going to eclipse Google completely, because Google has so many other things like with Maps and Google My Business and all those things that are going to remain relevant. But like Bing as search is going to start to be something that you might actually choose to go to instead of Google. So,
Well, I think Google's also, like you said, it is AI generated at a certain level, and they're using more of it. Hence, another 12,000 laid off the other day. They're finding ways to trim, and that's one of them.
yeah. So ways for us to use AI in our business, like Michael asked. So there's a few different ways. When we're talking now, we're talking future. I'm talking like just sort of big picture. You can utilize these generative AI tools to generate content, obviously. Like you can do that today. You can go generate content. You can use them to learn. Of course, all of it needs fact checking. Like that's just side note, like asterisk on everything. Like you have to fact check all of this stuff because it's, what is it? What's the word that they say? It's like fantasizes or something like that's not the right word. What are they saying that it does, Mac? That it
Hallucinates.
hallucinates. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just like it just invents things and states them as facts. Like it does not question itself or anything. You know, so it's like you have to fact check and everything. But basically like you can use these tools to generate content, to streamline your workflow, all of that kind of stuff. But what if you decided to do like Mac did or like Andrew and Vito did with Bertha and like create something that could then be a tool for others to use? So that's another opportunity. Can you guys think of any specifics or other general ways that you could use AI to facilitate growth in your business or even to start a whole new business potentially?
I used it to write 3 press releases this week. Boom, done.
Awesome.
I use it to write 404 page copy.
Funny little jokes. That's cool.
You
Anybody
guys know
else?
how I've been struggling with SOPs for the last 2 years. I'm like, duh, let's have Jasper help with my SOPs.
Mhm.
Cool. How are you doing that? Because SOPs are very personal, like your specific methods. So
Yeah,
how are
I mean,
you
again,
having it?
not perfect, but it helps.
It's a start.
It helps write, so cleans things up. You can write fragmented bad sentences and it makes it pretty.
Mm-hmm. The use cases, if you are involved in imagery, like Gene, for like photographers or other people that are involved with imagery, I mean, Photoshop is already adding. I know Scott put something in here. Alcade art.
Okay, it's free now. It's crazy powerful. And
to play with it.
because you can mix it. You can if you're a Photoshop user like myself, you can manipulate things a lot quicker than just using chat alone.
And then
Yeah.
speaking of prompts in chat, and that Andrew brought this up after hours last week, and we played around with it quite a bit. You can create the prompt in chat and then move it over to Midjourney and drop it in there, and then that will help with your image.
Yeah, there's a little thing like on the image generation in Bertha where you can put in a thing and then like basically get Bertha to help with it, and it sort of ups it. Oh, there's one other thing that I do want to show you guys that is hold on, let me find my screen here.
I mostly
so-
enjoy the thing that you were describing with the meal plans and that kind of thing, you know, as opposed to search, because it is so easy to say, give me a diet for 7 days that's gluten-free and under 1,000 calories a day and doesn't have this item, or this item. And as soon as it spits it out, you say, give me a shopping list to make these recipes. And it gives you like, that would take so much longer on Google. It's that,
Yeah.
that kind of usage for the tool is really cool to me.
Or like, here's what's in my fridge. What can I make?
And I love that you can just say, and put it in a table, and it just puts it in a table.
I've never done that one.
You haven't? Oh my God. Put it in a table. It's so much easier to read.
Okay, did I share the right thing? I have so many browsers open. Okay, so hang on a second. What was I going to show you? Oh, so Bertha Art, that reminded me. Oh, come on. Do I not have my plugin updated? I'm the worst. It's been like just a really winning tech day. No, this is the current one. Why didn't that work? Let's see. Okay, here it is. Okay, so there's two choices now when you go into Bertha Art. You can just do the regular thing, create it. But they also added this thing where you can search like, what do we want to search for? I don't know.
You know, you were saying margaritas. Go for it.
Breweries.
Not the
She doesn't
salmon.
want to hear that word again.
What did he say?
I said, not the salmon again.
No, I did think of it. So you can do like
Making mess on the motorbike.
frosty margaritas with lime on the rocks. And then you can search.
Oh, you
and
can
it
get rocks now. Yeah, you're gonna have like a salmon thing going on here.
could. So I mean, we're gonna get some terrifying stuff like yowza, but this is it right here, cat drinking it. So what this is, guys, is AI generated art from I think this is the Stable Diffusion database. Don't quote me on that. But so because
It's all
AI
copyright, it's all copyright free.
AI generated art cannot be copyrighted because in order to get a copyright, you have to have personhood, and a machine can't have personhood because it's not sentient. So
So they are copyrighted free, Scott.
How does that cat?
I
not
mean,
be
that's
happy?
such a benefit of all this too.
So the answer
I found
is
some music scores too that are like,
there's no
did I buy a
copy-
music score?
right. So there's no copyright on it, which means that
I love
like if somebody else is a lot better at doing the prompts and getting the styles correct, then like what is the AI trying to say that there's giving me all these cats with margaritas? Did I even say that?
It must record your data that you have a cat. That's what it
Single lady Thursday night searching for a margarita recipe. You do the math. She's got a cat. Yeah. So anyway, there's another one. What the heck? Anyway, so you can go in and search for AI generated art, and then you can just download it, save it to your media library right here, whatever. And you can even grab the prompt from it if you wanted to modify it or create other things. And these don't take your credits because they're not generating. It's not generative on here. How rad is that?
It's rad.
I think that is a super cool thing. Anyway. All right. I am going to hit stop on the recording now because I like to keep a little something back for those who show up live. So we're going to keep chatting.
After hours.
Michael loves the after hours chat. So I'm going to pull the plug.
Scott, don't leave.